Have you ever wondered how love can turn into something dark? Something deadly? What happens when two ordinary people fall into a twisted bond so powerful that it drives them to commit unimaginable crimes? Before we begin, make sure you hit that subscribe button to the Black Widow Files, because what you're about to hear isn't just another crime story. It's a chilling tale of manipulation, obsession, and pure evil that haunted Britain for decades. Our story begins in Manchester, England, early 1960s. A young woman named Myra Hindley seemed, to everyone who knew her, like an ordinary girl. She was polite, well-mannered, hardworking, and respected by her neighbors. But deep inside, something was missing, a void she didn't understand. That void would soon be filled by a man who would change her life forever. His name was Ian Brady, intelligent, brooding, and mysterious. When Myra first saw him at Millward's, the chemical company where they worked, she was instantly drawn to him. Brady had a strange charm, cold yet magnetic. He spoke about things most people wouldn't dare to discuss: Nazi ideology, sadism, and his belief that society's moral rules were meaningless. To Myra, he seemed dangerous and exciting, and like a moth drawn to flame, she fell for him completely. A love story turned into a nightmare. In the beginning, their relationship was passionate, almost intoxicating. Myra idolized Brady. She read the same books he did, books about torture, domination, and the dark side of human nature. He taught her that life was only for the strong, that compassion was weakness, and Myra believed him. Soon Brady began testing her loyalty. He wanted to know how far she would go for him. He spoke about committing the perfect crime, something that would prove they were above society, untouchable. At first, Myra hesitated, but Brady's control over her was absolute, and on a quiet night in July 1963, the two would cross a line that would never be uncrossed again. The first murder. Pauline Reed. Their first victim was Pauline Reed, a 16-year-old girl and a friend of Myra's younger sister. That night, Myra offered Pauline a ride, claiming she'd lost a glove on the moors, the vast, lonely hills outside Manchester. Pauline trusted her. But waiting on the moors was Ian Brady, with a shovel and a plan. What happened next was pure horror. Brady assaulted and murdered Pauline, while Myra stood nearby, watching, frozen, yet complicit. When it was over, they buried her body in the cold, damp soil. For most people, such an act would have caused unbearable guilt. For Brady and Hindley, it only brought them closer. Over the next 2 years, the couple's crimes escalated. They lured more children and teenagers to their deaths. John Kilbride, Keith Bennett, Leslie Ann Downey, and Edward Evans. Each murder was planned meticulously. Myra would drive, smile, and pretend to be kind, while Brady prepared to kill. One of the most chilling details was their decision to record the cries of one of their victims, 10-year-old Leslie Ann Downey, as they tortured her. When police later found that tape, it became one of the most horrifying pieces of evidence in British criminal history. Through it all, Myra seemed detached, her emotions buried under layers of devotion to Brady. He called her my perfect partner, and she believed she was part of something greater than love, something darkly eternal. The final murder and their capture. Their final victim, Edward Evans, was a 17-year-old boy whom Brady invited to his home in Hattersley in 1965. But this time, something went wrong. Myra's brother-in-law, David Smith, witnessed the murder. Terrified, he reported everything to the police the next day. When officers arrived, they found blood, a hatchet, and evidence that would uncover the couple's nightmarish secret. During their trial in 1966, the British public was horrified. The idea that a woman, a seemingly normal woman, could commit such acts shocked everyone. Myra Hindley became a symbol of female evil. The media called her the most hated woman in Britain. She sat in court, calm and emotionless, while the evidence played, including the recording of Leslie Ann's final moments. Many in the courtroom wept. Myra did not. Life behind bars Myra Hindley was sentenced to life imprisonment, along with Ian Brady. Brady remained defiant, claiming he had done nothing wrong. Myra, however, began to change her story. Years later, she tried to convince the world that she had been manipulated, that Brady had brainwashed her. She said she was under his control, too scared to resist, but the public didn't believe her. To them, she was just as guilty, maybe even worse, because she had betrayed the trust of children. Behind prison walls, Myra became deeply religious, trying to find redemption. She studied, worked, and wrote letters expressing remorse. But for the families of her victims, forgiveness was impossible. Even decades later, whenever her name appeared in the news, anger and hatred resurfaced. The Bond psychologists who studied the case have called the relationship between Myra Hindley and Ian Brady one of the darkest examples of folie à deux, a shared psychosis. Together, they created a world where morality didn't exist. Brady's sadism and Myra's desire for approval fed off each other, until they lost all sense of right and wrong. Alone, perhaps neither would have killed. But together, they became something monstrous. The moors. A graveyard of secrets. Even after their conviction, one secret continued to haunt Britain. The body of Keith Bennett was never found. Despite endless searches, the Moors kept their silence. To this day, his mother, Winnie Johnson, died without knowing where her son was buried. The Moors themselves became a symbol, vast, quiet, and eternally scarred by what happened there. People said you could feel the sadness in the air, as if the land remembered the screams that once echoed through it. The end of the story: Ian Brady died in 2017, unrepentant till the end. Myra Hindley died in prison in 2002, at the age of 60. But their crimes, the Moors' murders, remain one of the darkest chapters in British history. Even today, their story is told not out of fascination, but as a warning, a reminder of how love, when poisoned by control and evil, can destroy everything it touches. Reflection. Evil has many faces. Myra Hindley's face became an icon of evil. Not because she was the most violent, but because she shattered the illusion that evil only wears a man's face. She showed the world that cruelty can hide behind kindness, and that monsters can smile. So the next time you see a story about true love that seems too perfect, ask yourself, what would you do for love? And more importantly, how far is too far? If this story gave you chills or made you think differently about human nature, don't forget to subscribe to the Black Widow Files for more dark, real-life stories from history's shadows. And remember, evil isn't always born. Sometimes it's made.